Most people think of branding as just this like surface level, the pretty stuff, really good design. And that's the least important aspect of branding. Brand is a strategic imperative through the entire organization. Your brand should inspire in three ways. First, it should inspire you as the founder, having clarity of where you're going, how to communicate where you're going, communicating your vision, your mission, your purpose. It should inspire your team. And then thirdly, it should inspire your customers. Because at the end of the day, customers come and go, clients come and go, but you and your team are set out on this mission. And that's really where the power of having a strategic brand comes into play.
Hello, and welcome to the Liberty Spenders podcast. We are Kurt and Kristen Ludhart, your hosts and co-founders of the Prosper Group, an agency that's helped raise over $500 million and help elect over 100 members of Congress, 15 governors, 15 U.S. senators, and 1 president. So, business owners, what if you could exponentially grow your business by tapping into a lucrative and engaged audience of 76.5 million people that we call Liberty Spenders? These Americans spend $5 trillion a year, and they're motivated to buy from businesses and brands that share their values. If you want to learn more about that, you can get access to our new best-selling book at libertyspenders.com/free.
Today, we're joined by Michael Hunter, founder of personalbrand.com and Spiffy Checkouts. He helps entrepreneurs scale their influence with strategic branding and tech. He's a former CMO behind multi-million-dollar launches. He's worked with some of the really awesome icons in the business like Brendan Bouchard and Jim Quick. Michael also hosts the Six Fig podcast, where he has a personal mission to spotlight more faith-based founders and unpack their path to success. Michael, it's awesome to have you.
I love it. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you too. I am more and more these days utterly convinced of the importance of personal branding, which we're going to get into a ton in this episode. But before we do that, the most interesting thing I found and I want to hear about is this awesome Spiffy checkout startup that you started with $5,000. And I love a good entrepreneurial story, like $5,000 to 8 figures. That's got to be wild. Take us back to that. Tell us how that all came together.
Yeah, I mean, just like every business success story, it's a 10-year overnight success story still in the making, right?
Yes.
And so it's easy just to say that and like think that it was all roses and sunshine and all of the things, but basically we had our hands in the trenches as an agency building out marketing campaigns for the who's who of the industry. And we got paid to execute these big $1 million product launches and, run 8-figure businesses that were our clients' businesses. And we got to use all of the tools, and we got to push the envelope of all of these tools and see where they broke down and see the limitations of this one, and jumping from tool to tool to tool to try to find the one that magically solved all the problems to realize it didn't exist. And so long story short, just because we were practitioners, hands in the trenches, we saw opportunity. And my business partner, Jeremy Abraham, and I wanted to start to transition out of the growth agency world and like all the high pressure, all of the efforts, all of the money, all of the attention in a 1 week window. Like it's a very high pressure business model. Yeah. And so we wanted to transition it to software. So we had about 20 different software ideas that we thought could be $1 million ideas. And we narrowed it down to implementing Spiffy just based off of a set of criteria that we set out for. And ultimately we started with an MVP. And that was the biggest learning lesson for me, was that oftentimes what we think the market wants is far greater than what the market actually needs. We started selling apps for our Spiffy software before there was even a login page. So we were like manually entering things in the database and giving people the product via Gmail and making annual sales, charging $300 a year. But we started selling it before it was fully built, and we found the simplest, most basic problem that we could solve that people were willing to pay for. And then over the past 10 years, we've just been building and building and building and building and building. And now Spiffy's the top checkout platform for authors, speakers, coaches, thought leaders, and personal brands.
Michael, that is awesome. And as you're talking about this, I was just thinking about what people have to learn. It's not if you build it, they will come. It's like, no, build it as they come sometimes, right? It's like you build the plane while you're trying to fly it.
Yes,
and it's
100%.
so hard to do that, but you're so right. We can get so excited about the product idea or the service idea that's like, this is awesome. And until you get out in that market, you just do not know. And you could be shocked, right? It could be a little pivot you need to make, or to your point, maybe they didn't need it or as many bells and whistles as you think. And so then you can really focus on the core of what's really exciting. So I just was laughing as you're describing that. Like, that's awesome, though, that you didn't make that mistake.
It's the right approach. We meet founders all the time that have spent their savings, their life savings, building a product that nobody wants because they never actually put it in front of customers. Or they just sort of said, hey, if I had this, would you use it? And people say yes, but they aren't opening up their checkbook, right? And you don't know. There's a lot different between, oh, yeah, that'd be cool, or, oh, yeah, here's my credit card, right? And so their only validation is, well, I asked around or I did a survey, but I never actually found out if anybody was willing to pay
money
for this. And now you're stuck with, I've built this thing. I've spent all of my wad. I don't have any money to market it, let alone validate that anybody wants to pay.
Yeah. 100%. So even though you said it was not some overnight success, I just applaud you because it's a very scary thing. And going about it this way, obviously you're only beginning to tell your story, but I'm just glad that you didn't. You're already warning people what not to do.
Totally. Showing them
what they should do. Right. That's more accurate.
And for me, like being a multi-passionate entrepreneur, like I said, we had 20 different software ideas. So how do we narrow it down to the one to execute against? And what you were talking about there was part of our criteria. The first 4 steps are like, is it solving a real problem in the marketplace? Because oftentimes, like, there's like all these niche problems that a lot of people don't even aren't even impacted by. Are people aware, or you as a super
user are impacted by, but the majority of the market doesn't feel it, right? You feel it because you're like an elite.
Yeah. So is there a problem? Are people aware they have the problem? Are they actively seeking a solution to the problem? And are they willing to pay for the solution? Unless that fourth piece is in place to what you were just describing, the problem needs to be urgent and big enough for them to pull out their credit card and transact. And so luckily with Spiffy, we were solving we started off by building an app for an existing ecosystem where people were begging that company to better their e-commerce platform. And we knew that people had a massive pain point that they were seeking for a solution, and that because it was directly correlated to their ability to make money, they were willing to pay money for that product. And so we were able to scale Spiffy to about $500,000 of recurring revenue in about 2 years with no marketing, because people were looking for us and we just had to create the solution and be there when they were looking for us, and they bought.
I love that. You've got the ecosystem, you've got the customer pool. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that probably explains why you just hit 1 billion in processing volume,
right? Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's our customer success. And I think that's the stat that a lot of companies need to incorporate more into their measure of success, not just their revenue goals or, the top line revenue or how well their ads are converting, but like, hey, like, are your customers having success with your service or your product? And really telling that story. So yeah, I mean, again, in the grand scheme of payments, it's still relatively small numbers, but for a scrappy startup, bootstrap, self-funded, we've had small businesses process $1 billion worth of revenue through our platform, and we're still just getting started.
Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's really cool.
That is awesome. I know for us, I remember back to those days of starting our business, and every good entrepreneur who started it with their own money and wasn't able to pay themselves early on has a great story of what they did to save money while they were building their business. We literally were those people who fished in the couch cushions for money for pizza night.
That's when you actually ever had cash or change, right? Which is like,
and
it's not, I can't go fishing for that anymore.
Slept in our cars instead of hotels when we were on the road. Is there something an absurd money saving hack that you had when you were getting going back in those days?
Money saving hack. I mean, man, especially nowadays, the landscape's so different. But I mean, me and my now wife, then girlfriend, man, we have an epic love story that obviously isn't the focus today, but we spent we dated for 4 years, spent some time apart. God brought us back together. But during that period, I mean, we would go to Jimmy John's and split a sandwich. Like we would, on Sundays for football, there's our favorite pizza place, Grimaldi's. And if you got a large pizza, it was buy one, get one free. And we would, take up that deal and, have that pizza spread out. Buy a box of spinach at the store and have those pizzas last us all week. We just got really resourceful and creative. But yeah, to your point, for the first 2 years of building Spiffy, we didn't take a single dollar out of the revenue of Spiffy. We're just reinvesting it back into hiring team. And even to this day, my business partner, Jeremy, and I, every time where we have excess profits, most people decide to pay themselves more and we just hire more team and really just further the mission, further the impact. And so critically important to be fiscally conservative, fiscally responsible, even as you hit, higher milestones. It's the biggest mistake that I see people make is they just elevate their lifestyle prematurely. And it can have a negative impact on the business and ultimately, on your well-being too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing Keith Cunningham in the back of my head. I don't know if you've ever listening to Keith Cunningham. He says, "Baby eats first." That's a bad Keith Cunningham impression. But,
we love him.
We so much of us have heard that pay yourself first thing. Right. And as an entrepreneur, that's often bad advice. And Keith Cunningham would say, "Baby eats first," which means the business eats first. You eat second. And you don't starve the business of growth capabilities by taking money out that's needed to pay down debt and to reinvest in the business. So you and Keith are on the same page there.
That's a good side of the fence to be on the same page with. Keith was Robert Kiyosaki's mentor, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
He was
and
the
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He was the rich dad.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the first personal development business book I ever read at the age of 17. And that, totally shifted my perspective. And about maybe 2 years ago, I read the book again and it was even more eye-opening. The book hasn't changed, but I have. And so, if anyone listening, if there's a book that had a big impact in your life, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or even longer, go back to that book. You're going to read that book with such a different set of eyes and perspective. And that was a pretty cool experience to go back to that book that had a big impact on my life.
Yeah. And we highly recommend. He's slowed down and does fewer things now, but his stuff's incredible. And he has, now I'm blanking on his book that he wrote, The Road
Less Stupid.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Oh, it's so
what
good.
What a great name.
It's so good.
Well, Keith
and he talks about paying the dumb tax. You make some mistakes and they cost you a fortune in business. And you say, well, I'm paying a dumb tax. So Kurt and I have said that to each other many times.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
It is. I highly recommend it. Now, in addition to processing payments, though, you're working with people on personal branding. You've got personalbrand.com, which, speaking of personal branding, what's a better brand than personal?
I know. Well done on the URL.
Yes, well done. I'm not going to ask how much that costs. But I know for you, you've called that personal brand the missing link for businesses that already have some momentum. So break this down for us. Why does strategic branding and your approach to kind of personal branding, why does it make such a big difference?
Yeah, so I think it's a great place to start the conversation of what brand even is. Because if you ask 10 different people what a personal brand is, you're going to get 10 different answers. So many people conflate brand with branding and branding with content marketing. They're like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to build your personal brand. Here's how to do YouTube, or here's how to do a podcast, or here's how to do Instagram or LinkedIn. And all that social media is content marketing. It's a piece of the equation, but there's a lot of people out there that have millions of followers, but as soon as they have the likes, they have the engagement, they have, the perception of success, but as soon as they stop posting content, no one's talking. They have no brand. They have content, they have engagement, but they're entertaining the masses. They don't actually have brand. So how we talk about brand is that you actually don't have control over your brand. You can only influence your brand. And through the process of strategic and intentional branding, your branding can equal your brand, but you actually don't have control of it. So branding is what you say about you, and your brand is what the market says about you, about what your customers say about you. And so when you distill down your products and services to getting a clear, specific, and repeatable result, and you're able to craft simple messaging, almost too simple messaging to where it's almost seems not enough, but your messaging speaks to your ideal customer in a way that's powerful, memorable, and repeatable, that's when your branding can equal your brand. In the early innings of entrepreneurship, and this is most people's experience with brand, you go to like a branding workshop, you're setting a mission statement, a vision statement, you're creating your vision board, and in the early innings, you don't know who your ideal customer is. You don't really even know if you don't have your product or your service systematized yet. You haven't had a good hire or a bad hire. You haven't had a really terrible client and a really good client to like even know how to talk to and call in that amazing client or that amazing team member. And so you're forced in these early innings, in these branding exercises, to create messaging and language that's so vague and so airy and so fluffy that's 100% not valuable. But once you start to get traction, once you've had a bad hire, once you've had a bad client, once you really figure out where your products and services get the most significant results for the least amount of effort in the marketplace, then you can focus your messaging, your brand, to really be that strategic unlock and that missing link. And so usually our clients are already generating somewhere in that high 6 figures, low 7 figures or more, where they already have traction, and we can help simplify their messaging and their focus and their energy so that they can be moving in a direction that actually gets them to where they want to go. Most people think of branding as just this like surface level, the pretty stuff, really good design. And that's like the least important aspect of branding. Brand is a strategic imperative through the entire organization that allows for your customers. We say that your brand should inspire in 3 ways. First, it should inspire you as the founder, should light you up, having clarity of where you're going, how to communicate where you're going, communicating your vision, your mission, your purpose, so that every single day you wake up on fire. It should inspire your team, so your team is able to rally. And then thirdly, it should inspire your customers. Because at the end of the day, customers come and go, clients come and go, but you and your team are set out on this mission. And that's really where the power of having a strategic brand comes into play.
If you're listening to this show, it's probably because you understand something most people don't. Marketing to Liberty Spenders isn't just about ads or tactics, it's about trust. And in the real world, trust moves through relationships. And that's why private introductions and deal flow are such a core part of what we do.
So FastPass is a private introduction and deal flow network for Christian and conservative leaders who already have influence and want to scale fast. It's not open networking, it's intentional introductions between people who already share alignment. We've seen one client land a $25,000 opportunity from a single introduction. Another told us that FastPass has become his largest source of referrals, not because of volume, but because of fit. And yet another closed her equity round at a key moment just due to the right introduction.
When you book a one-to-one consult with us, we're not handing you a list or making big promises. Instead, we're having a real conversation about what you're building, who you want to meet, and whether FastPass makes sense for this season for you. So no pressure, no hustle, and no awkward pitch from us.
Yeah. If you're ready to grow through relationships instead of forcing everything on your own, head to libertyspenders.com/FastPass and book a one-to-one consult with us.
In worst case, you leave with clarity. Best case, the right introductions change the trajectory of what you're building.
Okay, back to the episode.
Before we get deeper into it, I thought, well, maybe there's a story of someone who unlocked their success because you helped them that would frame this a little bit. Because I know I want to talk about the 5 stages of a thought leader business here in a minute. But I thought let's get a real story in, because I think that'll help people understand it better first.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking. So we were talking earlier about the stupid tax. We have how we frame it. We call it the invisible tax. The invisible tax of a good enough online presence. Most of the time, people have like gone through the ringer working with an agency or working with a freelancer to like get their website up, and it was a complete pain in the rear end, and they know it's not where they want it to be or where it should be, but like they just wasted so much time, energy, effort, and money getting that up that they don't want to go through it all again. And rightfully so. I've been there too in the past. And for people that already are getting traction, already generating results for their clients, it's not about number of viewers. It's about the quality of viewers or the quality of attention. Even if your business is running 100% off of word of mouth, you're not on podcasts, you're not on stages, you're not like doing what you would consider like personal brand activities. All of us have a personal brand. So the story that exemplifies this invisible tax is our client, Eliza, VanCort. She was a best-selling author. She was getting booked at all of these different universities and corporations, but she was kind of pigeonholed in this one lane, and her publicist, her strategist said, hey, we want to move you over into like the strategic communication angle. And ultimately, we up-leveled her online brand, shifted her marketing message, created a positioning statement, and she was capped before she started working with us. She was capped at like a 5K keynote, and she was trying to raise her prices. And ultimately, why she was speaking is because she wanted to generate business for her true passion, which was this workshop that she created that actually created a transformation in the people that worked with her. But the keynote fee was a stretch. And so these organizations and companies that were bringing her in could pay the 5K keynote, but they didn't have budget for the rest of her products and services. And so what we did is we leveled up her online presence, shifted her positioning statement, just did a complete A to Z, revamp. And Apple called. She had a $15,000 keynote, and it translated into $500,000 worth of business on the back end. And so again, we can't take full credit for that. Like, she is dynamic. She's a great speaker. She has decades of experience. She's articulate, but that story illustrates that she was already being seen. She was already getting eyeballs on her stuff, yet her online presence was just speaking to the bottom 80% of the market and not that top 20% of the market, the people that are willing to pay the premium for the best. The price isn't a factor in their decision-making. They just really want to bring in someone that's world-class, that they're confident that will deliver a result. And so that's really what we help people do, is just have their level of badassery reflected accurately on their online presence. So people just know like your level of credibility, how you can help, like, and having that nonverbal communication that we know is so critical in like networking events and masterminds and things of this nature. Like in person, we understand that nonverbal communication is powerful. Studies show it, right? But we also forget that the nonverbal communication of communicating your message and your authority through visuals online is a massive differentiator going into this next era.
When you were saying before about how early on people don't know their ideal client, and then I think someone like who you just described has been having success, is getting booked, getting speaking, and now you've realized, okay, this probably isn't my ideal client, but this is where I've been fishing, right? And I need to kind of fish. I need to get to a different pond. I need to get, level up, as you said. And so it's important to know who's your ideal client, but who are they not, so that you can like differentiate, right? And what is the criteria that differentiates those two? And I know that can be a challenge, especially if you have a servant's heart, like it sounds like this woman has, who's really wanting to help. She's passionate about what her workshop could eventually do. And so you want to say yes to everybody. But you just, again, you're not going to succeed ultimately in having the impact that you want to have if you can't figure out when to say no and how to differentiate, the ideal client that you really need to have.
100%. Yeah.
Well, I know you've done this process of kind of mapping out the stages of that. So how does that fit in, these 5 stages of a thought leader business, to how you approach things with your clients?
One of the things that took me way too long to figure out. So being in this industry, I've worked with authors, speakers, coaches, thought leaders, personal brands since 2011. Like I was way ahead of the personal brand curve, working with these thought leaders and helping people that have a powerful, positive message, get that message out in the world to have a bigger impact. And especially nowadays with social media, all of the pain, suffering, frustration of building a personal brand comes from the inundation of tips, strategies, and tactics in our news feeds that are what I call stage 4 strategies. And all of that pain and frustration comes from trying to implement stage 4 strategies when you're at stage 1, 2, and 3. And one of the things I always say is the right strategy, a great strategy at the wrong time, is still the wrong strategy. And so it's really important to be excessively sober and objective about where you're at in the journey, and just knowing that posting 17 times a day across 5 different platforms requires a team. And if you're an individual solopreneur just getting started, that's not going to be the lever to pull that's going to generate results. And so the 5 stages of a thought leader business are: stage 1 is what I call the calling. And that's really like 0 to 6 figures. Like you're still figuring things out. You have this calling on your heart, and you most likely already, still have some other revenue stream coming in, from your day job or possibly another business, but kind of this deeper passion and purpose in your life. You feel this pull and this calling to figure out how to monetize that. The second stage is what I call opportunity. And that's about $100,000 to maybe $500,000. And that's when you actually hire your first 2 or 3 team members. And so you start to enroll other people in your vision and your mission and your purpose. And other people start to come into the picture to help you move faster. The biggest mistake we see people make at stage 2 is that they think that because they have more people, all of a sudden that they can do more things. And so where people get stuck at stage 2 is they start creating more. And, now I have 3 or 4 team members, so we can do 3 or 4 times as many things, versus focusing on just a few things and doing those few things really, really well, with extra, manpower to deliver the results for the clients. Then stage 3, so we have calling, opportunity, and then stage 3 is traction. And that's really between about $500,000 up to about the $1 million mark. And traction is where usually in one area, one channel, you start to create some forward momentum where it starts to grow without your own effort. That's a sign that you're in traction. It was where you're getting outsized results for the same amount of input. Stage 4 is scale. And that's really from about, 1 to, 10 million plus in our industry of personal brands, thought leaders, authors, speakers, coaches, personal brands is kind of the frame that I'm talking about here from a revenue perspective. And then stage 5 is legacy. So, oftentimes, most of our clients are at the high end of the traction stage, the scale stage, or the legacy stage. Legacy is you built a successful business. Maybe you're in real estate. You built a portfolio of properties. You started a restaurant empire. You sell it for tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. And now you're kind of at stage 1 because you have a calling to do something that's, more purpose, mission driven, fulfillment driven. But you also have the coffers to really bring that vision to life, to really amplify your voice starting from day 1. But you already have business sense. You already have business savvy. You already have skills that you've developed. And so legacy is that 5th stage. It's much different than just starting out as someone who doesn't have business experience and just has that passionate calling on their heart.
I love that. And I even see it in our own personal journey that we have as we have been doing more coaching and consulting. It's the realization that, going from 0 to Alex Hermosi,
no,
right, is not the path, right? And y'all kind of want to be there, although I'm not sure how many, podcasts I want to do with, nose tape on like he does, but
I mean, that's his
clearly,
secret. That's how
Right.
we became successful, was the nose tape, right? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe I should be doing more of that. That's all personal branding, right? Like every day. Why is he wearing the nose thing? Oh, I should buy one of those, black nose tape deals or whatever. I do understand though, that there's this stage, and maybe it's in 1 or 2, where it can feel very overwhelming, right? Particularly when you see these other people, right? That's the response I see when I look at Alex Hormozi. I'm really impressed with his content. I make fun of him sometimes, but I'm really impressed with what he's done, right? And he had this big launch, a few weeks ago and sold all this stuff. And you think, okay, well, if I'm going to be successful, I got to do stuff like that. And you think, well, my goodness, I'm not that.
That's the lie that creeps in.
This feels like a lot of work, and I'm, I don't want to. The idea of having to make all this content, or maybe I don't want to be a social media star. So, it's very overwhelming. What's the biggest mistake you see folks making? And maybe you addressed that earlier because they're trying to be Hormozi before they've hit step 4.
Yeah,
but.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you avoid that?
Or what do you tell people in those early stages? Like, what should they focus on?
Yeah, I can answer both of those things. So the biggest mistake people make is they see someone like Hormozi or Gary Vee or Tony Robbins or Brendan Burchard or enter big name here, and they try to mimic what they're doing today versus how they got started. And so if you want to eventually have the impact that a Hormozi or a Brendan Burchard has, you have to look at how they got started. You can't look at trying to imitate and mimic what they did today, because that's not the path. So, to use Hormozi as an example that sounds like we're all familiar with, like, I've been in this author, speaker, coach, thought leader industry at the highest levels, and up until maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I never heard the name Alex Hormozi. Yet he had already sold his company for $40 million plus, whatever the dollar amount was. He was focused on delivering results in the niche of the gym space, helping people start their gyms, get customers. He was so focused on creating a very simple process and system that could be copied and pasted at gyms all across the country. And so he wasn't a social media star. He wasn't writing books. He wasn't doing everything that he's doing now. Because he's playing a different game now, right? Like with acquisition.com, he's putting all this information out for free to help people, to get people to his workshops, to start to build relationships so that people can start to implement his strategies. And once someone's already proven that they're coachable, teachable, trainable, and having business success, all of a sudden they're a prime acquisition target for him to acquire their company, to grow it even further, and then to exit and make all of the money, right? And so the biggest mistake people make is they look too much at like the tactics of what they're doing versus zooming out and saying, why are they doing that? What is the bigger game that they're playing? And fully understanding the full board of all the pieces and how they're being played for each individual person. So, for me, I started my marketing company in 2010 as a social media marketing company. I lived and breathed social media 16 hours a day for 4 years of my life, to the point where I got burnt out. And I wanted to build $1 million business without posting on social media, without social media having any factor in the equation. That's another one of the biggest misconceptions, is people think that in order to build a personal brand, you have to be active on social media. You don't. Everyone has a personal brand. If creating content and posting on social media lights you up and it's part of your creative expression, do that. Keep doing it. If creating content on social media is like the bane of your existence and it's just like dragging on your soul and it's like energy draining, there's other ways that you can have a massive impact and you can still reach people and you can still have a personal brand. So that's like the biggest misconception, is that in order to be a personal brand, you have to have 1 million followers, and nothing could be further from the truth.
Oh, preach it. Preach it. I'm a digital marketer who thinks as we grow our thing, if I don't want to make a bunch of videos and all of this. So that's reassuring. But I love what you're doing. We talk about this a lot with our clients, as Christian entrepreneurs get out into the world and they're selling their products. They've got to get we call it their passionate story, but they got to tell their story right. And they've got to get that piece nailed down.
You want to build trust and be authentic, because all of that goes to personal branding. And for people who are interested in connecting, with people of similar values, like what we help people do, that's essential, right? It's got to be more than just the product or service you're selling, is they want to connect with you and who you are and what's your story of how you founded your company and why are you doing it? What's the impact? What, like you said, what lights you up? What is it that you're trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's so powerful.
And I think to speak to the second question that you asked, Kristen, as well, is just like, for people that are just starting off, this was something that took me a long time to figure out, because I was working with high 7 and 8 figure businesses. I was paid to implement stage 4 strategies. And now all of a sudden I'm starting personalbrand.com agency services. And I bought that domain name in 2013. I was sitting on it. I knew there was an 8-figure business there, and I still just could not figure this out. And so that's really where those 5 stages of a personal brand business came from, was like me analyzing my resistance to getting started, because I thought in order to be successful, I had to have all these fancy funnels, and I had to have, a 5-figure monthly ad budget, and I needed to pack out rooms of 1,500, 2,500 people, because that's what I was doing for my clients, until I realized, oh, wait, like, yes, that's my skill set. And those are the playbooks that I run for a stage 4 business, but I had to humble myself. I had to go back, like, oh, stage 1, lean into my strengths. And so one of the questions you asked is like, in stage 1 or stage 2, when it feels overwhelming and like frustrating, usually one of the things that we teach at our brand and business breakthrough workshop is really helping people understand strategy. And if strategy creates more overwhelm or more complexity, it's not good strategy. And so anytime you feel that resistance or that overwhelm or frustration, you just have to ask, how can I simplify this? How can I lean more into my strengths to get to the next step? What is the best next step? And oftentimes, again, people think they need to run ads or they need to do marketing automation. I know how to do all of those things. And at stage 1 of our business, we're not overcomplicating it. We're not, distracting ourselves with technology. We're really, really focused on getting our clients amazing results. And that's really the focus at stage 1, is you need to use stage 1, get paid to learn how to get world-class results for your clients by, having them pay you to figure it out. I'm not suggesting that you are a snake oil salesman or selling things that you can't fulfill on, but like when you have a skill set, you're like, hey, like I'm actually pretty technical, and this whole ads thing, I really want to crack it. And I know that if someone pays me, I will absolutely figure it out. And I'm going to be open and transparent, honest, but I'm going to get paid to learn to figure it out. And that's really where my journey started as well. And I think that's the key, is just like, don't wait to figure it all out to get started. I think Jim Rohn, used to say, you can't wait to be great to get started. You have to get started to be great. And that's a great quote.
Yeah. Jim Rohn, another hero.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you also have another exciting project in your 6-Fig podcast, where you spotlight faith-based founders. What inspired you to kick this off and focus on this? And maybe what's your favorite episode thus far?
Yeah. So, I mean, transparently, we showcase entrepreneurial stories of everyone doing something, but especially with our personal brand clients, this has been something that I've really been wrestling with. And luckily to this point, we've never had a client that was, significantly against my values. Just by the circles we run in, naturally, our business is based off of referrals, and everyone's, pretty aligned, but, we have a responsibility where like we have a very strong power to amplify voices. And for our personal brand services and for this podcast, I'm really wanting to rally faith-based founders and elevate the voices of people out there in the marketplace, doing marketplace ministry, like and leading their teams and leading their customers and leading in their communities to tell their stories about how they became successful in business. And so the 6-Fig podcast, I've wanted to start a podcast for 10 years. And about a year ago, God gave me this idea. Ultimately, like most entrepreneurs, having ideas is not a problem. There's an ever ending flow of ideas. And so I was like, all right, if this is actually something that is from God that I'm meant to do, God will keep putting it on my path and keep putting it in my awareness. And so for about 6 months, the idea would not leave me. And so I knew it was something I had to execute against. And so ultimately, with a lot of business podcasts, especially the bigger ones, you have to have sold your company for $150 million to even be considered to be on the podcast. And that's just not relatable. And they're telling only one piece of the story of their most recent success, not the 20 years of relationships and networking and skills that they developed and all these things. And so the whole goal of the Six Fig podcast is to communicate that it takes a long time to become an overnight success, and to really dive into the story, talking about the wins, talking about the losses, talking about the impact on family, talking about the impact on their faith, talking about the impact on their health and their wellness, and having the frame of the conversation be, how did you get started in entrepreneurship? How long did it take you to make your first 6 figures in a year, then in a quarter, then in a month, then in a week, in a day, in an hour, in a minute, to really illustrate that timeline that it takes a long time to become an overnight success, and to also expand people's awareness of what's actually possible. Because sometimes someone hasn't even considered the thought that making 6 figures in a day is possible. And so we want to really tell that story, to tell the stories of founders, and specifically elevating faith-based founders' voices and stories, so that we can have a bigger impact in our communities.
Michael, I can't tell you how much I love that. That is just awesome and exciting to hear, and so needed on both fronts, both sides of that coin, as you described, because to your point, other people getting started out, what do you usually hear? You hear the headline, the big success. And that's why I laugh so hard at your joke of like, oh yeah, it took me only so many years to become an overnight success. And people who've gotten there know that, they get the joke, but other people don't understand that. And there's so much, especially now, people that are trying to figure out, okay, how can I make money? What's my side hustle, right? How can I make passive income without doing any work, which is a big joke. It's like, anyway, that's a topic for another day. But you hear all that, right? And you need those real stories, right? So people can have an understanding. But I love the flip side of it is not to be discouraging, but also, by the way, think big, especially again, as a faith-based founder or someone who's trying to think about how to have that impact. We serve a big God who does big things every day. And we don't think maybe we're the people that he would do that with. Right. And we have self-doubts and everything else, but, we can do a lot, with him as our power and our strength and staying in his will. So that's just phenomenal. I'm so excited. I can't wait to start listening.
Yeah. One of my biggest messages that I really want to get out into the marketplace, and maybe this is my own limiting belief, but just based off of conversations I've had with a lot of people in my men's group, is that there's almost like this distinction between your business and your worship. And I'm not suggesting that you worship your business by any means, but to me, I like the 2 most spiritual things that you can do. I guess the 3 most spiritual things you can do is start a business, get married, and have children. I would say that the 2 most spiritual are like start a business and have children, with the preconceived notion that you're married before you have children, right? But starting a business and having children, like, it's your creation manifest. Like it's reflections of you back to you, to expose all of your inadequacies and to become the best version of yourself. And so as long as you're operating a business in service, it's adding value to the marketplace, that you're doing the right thing by your team and by your customers, you're being an effective leader, like having that marketplace ministry of operating your business as a faith-based founder under the authority of God and Jesus Christ is the most powerful thing that you can do to serve God, to serve people, and to have a positive impact in the world.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thought. And I'm sorry, I don't want to step on you, Kurt. The other thing, at least in my experience, is, boy, will God use that to stretch you and help you grow. And like you said exposing all your inadequacies, but recognizing when you are trying to lean on your own strength instead of surrendering to him and his will, and trusting him when you're not really sure which way to go. So it's also very challenging. And, I forget who said the quote. I want to say Edmund Burke, but I'm not sure, but I know it's one of Kurt's favorite quotes, is that you can't lead further than you've gone yourself. And starting a business really puts you through that ringer of personal development. And if I want to grow, or if I want my company to grow, I have to grow. I have to be stretched out of my comfort zone. I have to become a better leader, communicator, all of those things. And so I get where you're coming from with your statement. And it's a beautiful thought.
Absolutely. Well, we're almost to the end. And so I want to make sure before we get into our lightning round, though, that we talk about your brand and business breakthrough event, because you mentioned it before, and you got one coming up in January. So talk about what that is about. Who should come? What are they going to get out of it? What are they walking away with? Give us the full Monty.
Thanks for asking about it. For the last 15 years, we've only primarily worked with entrepreneurs that are already doing 7 figures and above. And it was kind of like catching lightning in a bottle. Like you had to be like running around with your little jar, and when they're ready to engage your services. And what we realized is that there's so many more people that could benefit from our knowledge, expertise, insight, and perspective. And so we started this year, started doing live events just to work with people earlier on in the process, where even if they could write the check to hire us for our services, it wasn't the right time. I treat my responsibilities kind of like a doctor's Hippocratic oath, like first do no harm, where like it needs to be a very specific time in your business where brand is that strategic unlock to accelerate you forward to get results. And so that's really what brand and business breakthrough is. It's us like peeling back the curtain. We walk you through our brand strategy process, that we have our $30,000 plus clients, the same exact process that we render for our clients. So the event has 3 pillars. It's brand, business, and being. And we believe that this next wave of leaders in society are going to have to fully embody their messaging. Day 1, we focus on brand, getting clear on your message. Day 2 and 3, we dive into business principles. If you just do brand and you just focus on your marketing messaging, but your business model is flawed, more higher paying clients is not going to fix a broken business model. It's going to expose it and it's going to break it. And so if you and your team are already operating at 110% capacity, dialing in your messaging and turning on a funnel isn't going to help. And so we have to really look at those 2 things. We have to look at the business model. How can we make some tweaks? Where's the low-hanging fruit? Not just for ROI, return on investment, but ROE, return on energy. Like, where is your energy going that's not actually worth the effort? The ROI isn't worth the effort involved. And so we go through a process of finding how you can simplify. Most of our clients can't do twice as many networking events. They can't do twice as many events. They can't spend twice as much on ads. And so the whole event is really designed to really anchor down your brand, your business. And then also when you focus on dialing in your messaging and your business model is dialed in, if you're not ready for your next level of being seen, of being heard, of sharing your voice, of sharing your values, of really stepping into that next level of leadership and authority and wealth and abundance, you're going to hesitate, delay, and self-sabotage. And so those 3 pieces of the equation are what every single person gets when they come to our event, is a breakthrough in brand and their message and how to communicate who they are, what they do, who they serve, a breakthrough on the business model side, and a breakthrough in their next level of leadership. There's 26 seats. It's a very small, intimate group. We're not looking to have a huge rah-rah. It's very intimate. It's a workshop. It's an intensive. They're long days, but every single person that gets in the room, their life is different afterwards.
So am I doing this on a beach somewhere, or where am I doing this?
It's in Scottsdale adjacent. So in Arizona, in the Biltmore area. For those of you that are familiar with the Scottsdale area, we host a workshop there. It's January 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. It's a Tuesday evening, all day Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We do them in January, May, and September every single year. We'll create a promo code discount for the Liberty spenders to access the event at a steep discount if it's something that interests anyone. And that's a little bit about the event.
That's a fascinating thing. And it sounds like it's a really powerful experience for people, to go there and work through these issues. So I think that's a perfect now transition into our lightning round. What we do for every guest is we do 3 quick questions. We're looking for 90 seconds or less answers. And the first one we'd like to ask is probably the heaviest, which is it's 50 years from now, you're laying in bed and you're looking back in your life. How do you know that you've been a success?
By having a family that loves me, by having children that look up to me. That would be the biggest marker of success. I think from, a business perspective, just the line of work that I'm in, it is my ministry of elevating voices to have a positive impact in the world. And, I know that I'm walking my mission, my calling, my God-given mission and calling to have the biggest impact possible. And so just to be able to look back and see all of the clients that we've worked with and the ripple effect. When people ask what do I want my tombstone to say, I want to say catalyst of ripples, like just being that force in the world that perpetuates ripples for generations.
I love it.
Me too.
Now for something completely different. 90 seconds on something that's got you down the rabbit hole lately. Maybe it's a hobby, sports thing, good book you've read, spiritual insight. What's something that's got your mind occupied?
Oh man, rabbit hole. Honestly, the thing that my wife and I have been really going deep down the rabbit hole on is like really powerful prayer. And so we're buying books on, being a prayer warrior and just like under the authority of Jesus commanding things, protection around your home. And just like, most of my life, prayer was something that you said around the dinner table and was kind of like saying grace. We're thankful for this food. And for me, it just like, it was always just like surface level. And so like, that's one of the muscles I'm really strengthening now. Prayer that I always say is, give me awareness to see everything as it is. Expand my awareness, sharpen my discernment to differentiate good from evil. Give me the strength to do hard things and the wisdom to do the right hard things. And so prayer is something that is a weapon that I'm sharpening in my life, given the events that transpired recently.
We ought to do an episode on that. Maybe that'll be our follow-up.
Same. We can share some amazing, also, there's books, but podcasts and things that have been really helpful to us as we do that too. And I tell you one thing, it's been interesting as I mature in my faith is just appreciating more that prayer needs to be two ways. And so often I can catch myself in that trap where it's like just a one way, I'm giving, talking to my thing, or it's like a list of, all right, God, give me this, give me that. Like he's some kind of genie, who's going to make all my wishes come true and not having as much emphasis I've realized, over the years of listening, like shut your pie hole, quiet your mind and give an opportunity to hear back. Right. And of course, a lot of that's being in the word, but, so anyway, I can relate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So important. And like you said, a timely encouragement, maybe we should say, for us all to get sharper in that area.
Yeah.
Just like knowing the stories in the Bible have recently jumped off the pages for me. So much of my experience reading the Bible is like, oh, this happened thousands of years ago. Okay, I understand this and that. Like conceptually, okay, yeah, I understand we're in a spiritual war. And like now, like when the literal stories are playing out before us, having the deep knowing that we're in a spiritual battle and knowing that our society in general is ill-equipped to fight this fight. It's like prayer is something that most people don't realize how powerful it actually is. And so I'm diving myself into that study so that one day, help people sharpen their prayer life. So I'm starting with me, getting myself better first. And
amen.
That's where I'm at.
It always starts there. Yeah.
Well, the last question again for something completely different. We're going to pretend somebody fast forwarded to this moment, so they've not heard anything else you've said in the podcast. You've got 90 seconds. Who is the kind of person who should be finding you, working with your business? What do you do for them? This is 90 seconds gratuitous marketing.
Whoa, shameless self-promotion.
This is your commercial. We end with a commercial.
Yes.
I like it. This is a muscle I'm trying to build too. I'm so bad at talking about myself. And it's something that I've realized that I need to get better at advocating for myself so people know how I can help. Our ideal customer is someone who has a mission and a calling on their heart, who has already gotten traction. You already have some type of program or system or process. Maybe you're a coach, maybe you're an author, maybe you're a speaker, you're a thought leader, you're an influencer, and you've hit a plateau where you've realized that there's something else that's missing on the business front, on the brand front, on your next level of identity, like really stepping into this next level identity. And so if you've already gotten traction, you're having an impact in your local community, that's really where our personalbrand.com services can help amplify your voice, help accelerate your growth by ensuring that you're not paying what we call the invisible tax, where your biggest and best opportunities are just sailing right past you like a ship in the night. So if that's you, if you're in the world generating results for your clients and you feel like you're missing out on some of your biggest and best opportunities, we can help close that gap to help accelerate your business.
See, that's perfect.
Well done.
You nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yes. Yes. Feel great about that. It's been awesome to have you on the show. I wrote notes. I always feel like I had a good episode if I paused and wrote notes from what the person was saying. So
thank you. Thank you.
I learned a lot. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining. Anyone who wants to get in touch with Michael, you can find him at personalbrand.com. You're also on X at Michael R. Hunter. If you're interested in the Spiffy checkouts, how do they find you there?
Yeah, spiffy.co or spiffycheckouts.com. spiffycheckouts.com.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, yes, I just want to second what Kurt said. Awesome conversation. So delighted to help tell your story and introduce people to you, and just be encouraged. I can just feel your heart jumping through the screen. And so I'm excited about what you're doing, and I can't wait to listen to your podcast. So thanks for joining us, Michael. And for those of you tuning in, thanks so much for your time. We know how valuable it is. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss anything in the future. Until next time.